When it came down that he was going to sue me, I asked to talk to him. He refused. I asked for mediation. It was denied. I offered him money. He said it was not enough. He went ahead with the lawsuit and sued. It's his fucking funeral. I don't care.
What's happening, Dirty Sheets fans? We are back for the show that you have been waiting for. We are doing this on YouTube. We are doing this on podcast form. We are going to be everywhere with this. I'm Cav Manning. I'm from the Lingus Mafia podcast. Everything you need to know about me, just go to @Lingus Mafia on Twitter, patreon.com/Lingus Mafia. Getting on to it, I am along with the guy that everybody wants to hear from this week, because by the title of the show, everybody knows what's going on right off of the bat. It is CM Punk suing Billi Bhatti. Billy, may I just say the floor is yours? Should I just sit down and listen to some story time with Billi Bhatti? or what? I will chime in and we will walk along the way of what had happened. But some shit went down this week. Do you want to talk about it now?
I'll talk about it. Yeah, just tell me when I'm telling lies.
Thank you. I was going to start it with Cody Rhodes saying, what do you want to talk about today? Yeah, and we're not going to talk about what really we would have been talking about this week, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the main thing that happened this week, the most relevant thing, the best storyline, the bloodline, saw Jey Uso leaving the group, turning on Roman Reigns, and that despite the fact that once CM Punk did return on Saturday, I felt like that was the main thing that happened. But that's not to knock the return. The return was great. The reception was great. The promo was great. But we're not even talking about that. We're talking about the fact that I recently received a letter letting me know that CM Punk, Phil Brooks, intended to sue me. So he's suing me on the grounds of mainly a tweet and then some responses to said tweet, and a satirical meme that I posted, but it insinuates that I created the meme and was selling the t-shirts that are being sold on the internet. There are actually t-shirts being sold for this. I did not create the meme. I did not sell the t-shirts. I did none of that. So in my opinion, after you've also read the letter, would you say that that pretty much negates 99% of the lawsuit?
Yeah, I don't get, like, it's almost like they were told something wrong because of them saying you put this out there with the shirt that had Punk's image on it, and it was putting it to you as in you had this shirt made. You made people think it was from AEW because it says shop at AEW on the top corner of it. And then you get morons, of course, when you tweet that actually say, wait a minute, is this a real shirt that's for sale by AEW? Because I mean, it's clearly, humor. And I think the main part of this almost lawsuit or will be lawsuit or whatever happens, is that it says pedophile and the words Phil were the ones that were highlighted for it. And so that's what they're mostly pissed off about. So where did this whole thing start? After you tweet it in a humorous way, what goes on?
Well, let's track back a little bit and give a little bit of background, because we might have brand new people here. And you know how some podcasts can be overly negative about everything that goes on in wrestling. I hate this. I hate that. Give me the Attitude Era. Give me the Attitude Era. This happened in the Attitude Era. We ain't that show. Like, we are heavily critical of some things because some things are just downright boring. Some things are not as good as they used to be. Some things can be a lot better. And generally, we can go back and forth and a lot of times produce an idea where we say, they should have done it this way, or they should have done it that way. We are not writers. We don't work in a creative team. We are fans. Me, 33 years. Cav, 63 years. So
look great for my age, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. And and all joking aside, we shouldn't really be able to pick as many holes as we do on this show. But the fact is, we're not that podcast where we universally criticize everything. But also, as I take a sip of my Prime, who are not sponsoring the show. Also, we are not the people who praise everything as well, because I do feel
That's
there's
impossible.
a lot of well, it is, but you hear podcasts doing it. There's a lot of overpraising going on. We like this, we like that. We can't wait for these Japanese wrestlers to wrestle for AEW. Yeah, we're not that show, because there is a lot of shows that I believe, because of that, have lowered the standards of wrestling. They cater towards the core audience. The product over caters towards the core audience now, as well, as a result of that. And we're losing, or we've primarily lost, the casual audience, and it doesn't seem to be a huge effort to bring it back. Obviously, every company will tell you that they want that casual audience, but when you're looking at this this debut show, and 800,000 is considered a good number. Dynamite still trying to draw 1 million. SmackDown are now celebrating every time they get past 2.5. Raw's trying to hit the 2 million mark. These are not the numbers we grew up with. So it tells you that the casual audience has gone away, and there doesn't seem to be any way to get back to them. But one man who I believe has always found a way to hit a note with all audiences has been CM Punk. CM Punk has been someone who we have supported in this show throughout the time that he has wrestled. Now, this show hasn't actually existed while CM Punk has been off. This show, while I was on this show spawned from the Steel Cage. And in the Steel Cage, we had a couple of years to talk about CM Punk. Cav was doing his own podcast. He had time to talk about CM Punk. This podcast has mainly been about wanting CM Punk back. But my backstory is that I've always been a supporter of him. I have a son who's a big fan of his. He's been a supporter of Punk since he was 2 years old. And if you think that sounds ridiculous, have a listen to this footage if you're listening on a podcast. Have a watch of this footage if you're watching on YouTube.
I did all be and you could think I want see. I know you tree.
Austin, give me CM Punk. Let go. Austin, you've got CM Punk. You've got 2 CM Punks. Come on, put this one back. What do you want? Who do you want? Who do you want?
What?
So clearly you see that your son is singing Punk's theme song at 2 and playing with the toys, and then you had, where was that, a Toys R Us or something you were at with, and he's like, he won't give the toy back to you when he has multiple at home, and crying that, you know, his Punk is his guy. Punk's his guy.
Multiple Punks, yeah. That whole conversation was trying to just get him literally to pick someone else. But he's got Punk in the green trunks, Punk in the blue trunks, Punk in the black trunks. So yeah, just Punk. That was his guy. And obviously, sometimes or often, especially at that age, kids will sort of copy the parent or follow along with what the parent thinks is popular. And for me, CM Punk was the guy. And actually, even a heel at this time, when Austin was 2, Punk would have been in the midst of that excellent heel run. But as I said, loved everything he did, from Straight Edge Society, Nexus, Pipe Bomb, heel turn. We was with Paul Heyman during the heel turn. Took a break, came back as a babyface. All of that, loved everything. Wanted him to come back. Supported him in the UFC. The UFC run, I think everybody would agree, was an embarrassing thing for CM Punk, to the point where a lot of people didn't want to see him come back and wrestle again. I was not in that camp. I felt that it was a crazy thing to do, knowing about the sport. He didn't start in some regional MMA promotion. He didn't take the Jake Hager, Bobby Lashley, Batista route. He didn't even fight in Bellator. He went to the UFC. It's the ultimate fighting championship for a reason, because it's the ultimate. It's the pinnacle. And he went straight in there. Obviously lost a couple of fights. But still, for me, it wasn't a factor whenever wrestling got boring, whenever there was those moments where fans didn't want to see anything, they charted along CM Punk. And I've been to many arenas during that hiatus where I chanted along for CM Punk. So I think we've established clearly that I'm a fan. I've got a son who's a fan. I've got a son who hangs up, who has a 434-day signed picture of Punk and Paul Heyman in his room, which we may have to take down because it's kind of weird to have stuff up when someone's trying to sue you.
I'll ask you how much you're going to sell that for. So maybe I'll
sell it to cover these legal costs if there are any. So yeah. So I mean, what we're just trying to establish here is the background of the show is that we both are supporters to the point where I don't think that we are overly biased, or that we've been biased towards anybody. We like to call it down the middle. We like to say even when some guys that we like, whether they've had a bad match, bad promo, anything like that, doesn't seem to be happening for Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns is having the greatest run in history right now. So how can you pull it apart, criticize it, or say anything about it? So there are rare occasions where we don't. Punk has done things where over the last couple of years where we could have criticized. Well, I think we did vaguely criticize the booking, although that mainly falls on AEW, I would say. I think CM Punk has wrestled too much. I think he's been in there with people he doesn't need to be in there with. I know he wants to do the whole give back thing, but I believe that
I appreciate the sentiment when it's the give back thing, but there's certain ones, like we said that one, he was in there with a guy that wasn't, a higher echelon, and he gave the guy a lot in the match, and it was like, boy, if he's making it like it's impossible for him to beat this guy until the last minute, what is this? But that was in the very beginning of him coming back and, getting feet under him and stuff.
And you shouldn't be in a position where Bobby Fish kicks out on your finisher on 2.99, which we saw. So I believe that wasn't done correctly. And also with a couple of political gestures that he made, things I don't agree with, I completely ignored. You never heard them discussed on the show. You never heard anything or saw anything tweeted about the T-shirt.
And let's be fair, because I'm on that other side of you where I'm fine with it. So we're very different, me and you, when it comes to certain political things and all that kind of stuff. And we could talk about that later. So this isn't a one-sided show where it's going to be like Billy's opinion on this. I will give mine as well, to give, if you want to call it devil's advocate, but go ahead.
Yeah. So we fast forward to his return now after having this injury. And again, we've ignored the stuff with Colt Cabana. We ignored what he said about him. I know these two have been best friends for a long time. I think it's a shame to see that situation. Never talked about it. We blindly, and I mean blindly, took his side on the Elite thing with the argument with the Elite, to the point where we've even said quite clearly on the show, fire them. CM Punk to us is such a big star that I literally don't see the value in the Bucks and Kenny Omega. If there's any disruption there and it's done to appease them, and it means that CM Punk has to only be on one show, then I don't see the point of it. I think that, and look,
I don't even think it's blindly supporting. I think we're 100% on the right side of it, saying that he's not the fucking problem, and that Punk that the Elite and all that Adam Page stuff is children on that other side. From any reports we hear, obviously we're not there. You can't be 1,000,000,000% sure, but from every fucking report, it's that he has reached out to them, and he's gotten a lawyer letter back. So he kind of knows how it is. He's gotten a lawyer letter back that says, don't contact my clients or whatever, where it's like, he's trying to solve things and talk like a fucking human being. And he's getting the, I'm not talking to you. That's fucking child shit. Go ahead.
But who said that? Him.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying you don't know 1,000,000,000%, but I can't imagine he's going to put out something that is completely a fucking lie, where they would go, what the fuck are you talking about? Because he can go, here's the fucking letter. So it's very easily provable.
But if you're the main cause of the problem, then obviously they may reach a point where they don't want to speak to you. We don't know what's been going on. And the thing is that there's a consistent thing that's happening with CM Punk. You don't want to be, there's a philosophy where you don't want to surround yourself by somebody who's continuously causing problems everywhere they go.
Me on your show.
but but when you know, but that's the thing. When someone continuously is the root of a problem and claims to be the victim, then suddenly you turn around and think, hold on a second, it's the whole boy who cried wolf thing. He's the victim. He's the victim of Vince McMahon. He was the victim of Triple H. He was the victim of this situation now. He's the victim of Colt Cabana, Chris Colton. So, or whatever his name is. So it gets to the point where you're like,
this is probably why you liked them so much. Fucking twins.
I don't ever claim to be the victim of anything apart from this lawsuit. So
okay, good.
So we'll revisit the tweet and then we'll look at the lawsuit. Okay. The lawsuit, the tweet basically says, and it has Punk holding up the sign that says support LGBTQ plus youth.
Okay.
Now, I'm not delving into one-shot territory here with this tweet. It is consistent with my tweets. It is consistent with any podcast that you've heard me on. I've been called a transphobe and a homophobe, and it's crazy how they put these two things together, which we'll talk about in a second as well. Like, there's a lot to unpack here. But let's do the tweet first. Punk's holding up the sign. Nothing will make me turn on you quicker than this. My listeners know I've been a fan of Punk and supported everything he's done, but this shit will turn fandom to hatred instantly. No, I do not support a psychotic, pedophilic narrative where kids who can't make basic decisions about their life are encouraged to make dangerous, life-altering decisions. Overall, I've never had an issue with the LGBs, but 1 in 4 of the Ts commit suicide for a reason. It's a mental disorder. And CM Punk, who isn't man enough to even be a dad, thinks he can use his platform to push this nonsense. I absolutely hate the elite. I don't hate them, but I said it here. I absolutely hate the elite, but it's impossible to support Punk after this. They are all just pathetic. AW is pathetic. Their boss is pathetic. Their fans are pathetic. And fuck the wrestling community losers who cheered like sheep when he was talking about this, because he actually cut a promo and all of the people in this audience, for the most part, cheered it. Well, it sounded like the vast majority cheered it.
Now, do you think that the 1 in 4 commit suicide because they're not supported?
No, because they have the support, I think, now. And I think by supporting people, you're telling them that you're basically in a situation where we need to play stupid here. We need to.
What is support to you? What does that mean, like, in that sign? Because let's say somebody wrote this in the crowd. It wasn't him that brought out a sign. He grabbed it from somebody and said, so in my mind, in my thoughts, when he raises this sign, it is not a let me examine every part of the alphabet kids, all that stuff on there. In my head, it is a nicety gesture saying support the youth, as in don't bully the kids that are in school that have, sexual gender issues. And I don't go right away to the side of, it's somebody saying if a kid thinks they're a different sex, they should chop their dicks off at 7 years old. That doesn't come to my head immediately that is the thought of somebody that says support that group. I think support in my head means be kind and generous and just be human to any groups. That's where I came from with it. What do you say?
I'm all for that, and I'll talk more about the group in a second and what my issue is before we. But first, we need to sort of go through the lawsuit. But yeah, I thought that too, and that's why I was not instant with the tweet or anything like that. The tweet on that subject, the one that we just read, comes a little bit later on in the day when the T-shirt had already been online for a while. As well at that point, the T-shirt that I'm accused of making and selling, which I did not.
Which is an easy way to find out that you didn't. I mean, they'd be able to go into whatever store that's being sold, like in internet, and work backwards to see who is the one who has made this store and where that is going to. That's clearly, it's like thrown out immediately, I would think.
I think it's irrelevant too, because the profits from his image was made by someone else. That's a huge accusation in the paperwork. But ultimately, going back to what you said, I was hoping that when he said support, it was a case of, oh, we need to support them. I think you should support them too. I think that they're very confused. I think that they're obviously dealing with some other issues. I think if you feel uncomfortable to that point where you're confused to that point where your basics are, I mean, look, the fundamental basics of being born are you are the color that you are born where you are the age that you are the sex that you are. You can't do anything about this. And I'm going to tell you a personal story, which wasn't on the agenda, but I'm going to tell you just to be as straightforward and as candid as possible, which I won't usually be with my listeners. I've tried to kind of take the sort of cooler approach. But when I grew up, we grew up we're in England. So back then, before mass immigration, there was not as many Asian, brown, black people around.
Mm-hmm.
So up until 19, I didn't do so well with the girls, and a lot of the white kids did growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And for up to about 17, 18, till I got a bit more comfortable in college, I 100% would want it to be white. The white guys, they had all these stories.
The advantage, yeah.
They were kissing girls. They had girlfriends. They were talking. I mean, they were even talking about getting further than that. Getting past different stages, and I wasn't doing anything, and I blamed skin color on everything. But the fact is that I needed to get past that. I needed to go to college. I needed to start modeling. I needed to get famous and be on TV and bang as many white girls as I wanted to after that. But the fact is that had I done something drastic and bleached myself or decided that I was going to identify as a white person and start to lie to people,
like a hero of yours, by the way.
Oh, you're talking about Michael Jackson?
Yes.
Why do we have to get Michael Jackson into everything?
It goes along so many fucking roads. Go ahead.
The point is that I too was somebody that was uncomfortable, and Punk cut this promo where he talked about him being uncomfortable as a kid. But the fact is that this correlation to trans kids is ridiculous. Saying that I felt uncomfortable because I was a punk, grungy teenager, and me feeling uncomfortable because white kids were doing better than me with girls, and I felt like I was in the minority because I was, and felt like that could be a reason. Perhaps these girls were worried about being mocked for it, or maybe their upbringing told them that, hey, you get with white boys or whatever. I don't know, but the fact is that I didn't make any drastic changes, and as I said, everything worked out fine. I'm now the parent of a white baby as well, a white kid. So
half,
half, yeah. So
I was going to say, whose is it then?
So it looks, oh Jesus, he looks very white. But yeah, the point is that nothing drastic was done, and it worked out for the better. And it certainly wasn't to the point where we're talking about cutting off body parts and whatnot. But if we move on to actually looking at the suit, and we're not going to read the entire thing because there's absolutely no need, but straight off the bat, at the top of this, it says, your unlawful conduct. Now, I had this seen to by two solicitors who said that the basic thing that any type of letter that like this should address is the actual law that you broke. It should be stated either by what it is or section blah blah of this law. There is no law. This is not a crime either. So this isn't a law that's broken. There is no unlawful conduct, and there wasn't anything that's listed here. Anyway, immediately it goes into accusing me of unlawful publication, dissemination to the public, deliberately false and defamatory, malicious and vile statements. Now, this is important because they want to pretend in this piece of paperwork that I deliberately made these comments to hurt CM Punk. Now, if I deliberately said these comments, that means that I deliberately wanted to damage the reputation of CM Punk. And as we move forward with this, they ask for an apology at the end of the letter. where they want me to retract the comments and even admit that I deliberately tried to insult and
Defame.
defame CM Punk. Right. This is not the case, because as we just established, I feel this way. Everything I said in the tweet is genuinely what I think. It is my opinion, even to the point where you make the comment where I say he's not man enough to be a dad. These are my beliefs. I genuinely believe that if you have the money and you have the capability to have a child, you should have a child. That is what we are here to do. We are here to recreate. We are here to continue on our bloodlines and procreate.
Yeah. And then procreate?
What's the difference?
Recreate. I don't know. It sounds like you're cloning somebody. Go ahead.
I'll look up the differences between the
procreating and recreating. Okay. Recreating, you're redoing something. Okay, go ahead.
Are you done?
I am, man. Go ahead. I just couldn't help myself.
No. We'll ask Nick later on. But we're here to reproduce. We're here to make smaller versions. We're here to make smaller versions of ourselves. And I believe that I shouldn't be making my dad's mistakes. I mean, I probably made worse. And we don't want our kids to make our mistakes. And I'll give you an example. I got a level of fame through going on to reality television, which restricted me actually from doing more serious things. Now, I have a child who is training to be an actor, because he also has that in him. He has this natural thing in him where he wants to be seen and heard. And I believe that he should be in front of the camera. But we will never have him go through the reality route. That was a mistake. My parents knew that I was that type of show off growing up, but they did not take any action really in terms of moving me in that direction. My dad wanted a sportsman. He continued in with the sports, continued to invest in that, tennis lessons, play football, and I was decent at everything, but I was never, when I look around, and especially now as a parent, and I see the other kids, I know when to say to Austin, hey, let's do this as a hobby. Let's do this as a hobby. And I want to focus on the acting, because he loves that. Mm-hmm. And I think that mistake won't be made, where you won't be seeing my son going through some talentless reality TV route that I went through. He does the modeling, same as me, but we won't be going through like the talentless route. We're putting a lot of money behind him actually doing the acting route. And that is, I feel, an improvement upon myself. That's him not repeating my mistakes. Sure, he'll go out there and make his own mistakes and whatnot, but hopefully, he won't do this. He won't go down the reality TV route. He won't do the drugs I've done. He won't sleep with the women that I've slept with and things of that nature.
The same ones, at least.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you want the best, and you want them to do better. But ultimately, I think that everybody should do that. I'm critical of anybody that is capable of doing it. I'm critical of you. I've told you so many times, Cav, I've said it to you. Where's your kid? Why the hell don't you have a kid? Why are you not taking your kid down to watch the Bears? Probably because they're trash. And they should probably
I don't want to raise my kid to be a Bears and Mets fan. He's fucking suffering.
Take him to see the Niners. Why didn't you have a kid that you're taking down to see San Francisco 49ers?
Well, then my kid would be a gay kid. But either way. But yeah, and I've always replied, I go, oh, because I'm smart and didn't have any kids. For one, that is always the plan growing up. I don't know many people growing up that don't have you'll get married by this age, you're going to have kids and this and all that picket fence stuff. And sometimes life does not go that way for everybody. I was busy whoring, much like you, Billy, and you got locked down pretty early and then realized what a fucking mistake you made. and you had a kid, and you pretty much had a kid too, just spawn. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm in love, I want to have a child with you. I don't think you went that route with your ex-wife, because you just went and got married. What is it, in Vegas? You just said, F it, let's go get married.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I recently it's been a year. I'm 47 years old. So you think of it now, and I realize how tired I am at this age. And I go, That's a young man's game. That's a young man's game. That's a 27-year-old's game. That's probably a 32-year-old's game to have a kid running around. Why would I ever think about that at this age? No, thank you. I travel when I want to. I go to my horrible Bears games when I want to. I take a nap when I want to. There's nobody screaming and yelling. I get up for work early. I go, guess what? I'm tired today. I'm going to bed at 9:00. I go to bed. I don't have to do anything. I'm very selfish with this. Very selfish. I do what I want. I play my video games when I want to. I play golf when I want to.
But there's only one of you, right? Or is there other siblings?
I have a brother and sister. Both. Well, my sister had a boy, but it's not then the Cavalier last name, K5, the last names, right? Yeah. And my brother had a daughter. That Cavalier name is dead after this is done. So I would assume so. Although my nephew from my sister, he wishes he had the Cavalier last name. His, unfortunately, is Palumbo, like Chuck Palumbo. And his fiance is like, I don't want that last name. It's horrible.
Well, see, it's not all about obviously just name. There's more to it than name. But I just feel like
the bloodline continues on, like, Roman Reigns here with, on my sister and brother's side with from it's and that's on my father's side. That's not on my mother's. But yeah, and then the thing is, I didn't have the parents growing up that were like, oh, you have to give me a grandchild. You have to give me a grandchild. I think that would have been more on my father's side with the Italian. My mother doesn't give a shit. My mother could care less about kids. She'd rather not be around kids. And like everyone says,
so when you're 65 and you're 65, you don't want a 25-year-old son driving you to the game, someone to talk about the game with, somebody who, or even like now, like you don't think about having to mold this young person. And
I think about that, about like sports with stuff, and like, oh, I would have taught them sports, this and that. But the ship has sailed, and I don't have like the regrets of it, because it's not like I was in that area to be having kids. And when it comes to the punk stuff, he was in the middle of a career and doing all that. And that's very unfair to, if you're traveling around and this and that, because how many of the wrestlers' kids do you hear? I mean, just look at Dominic. He's upset at his father, right? They're yelling because dad wasn't there and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's more responsible to say, well, if I couldn't give my full attention to a kid, I don't know how old AJ is now. And I don't know if she ever wanted kids, or if she wants them now, or it tells him flat out, I don't want kids. Look at my abs. Do I want to ruin these? So I don't know. It's everybody has a different situation. Maybe he hates children for himself. Like Macho Man, we've talked about this before. He was with all the Special Olympic kids left and right and this and that. Doesn't mean he wants one himself. It's like, oh, kids are good to visit and see, but guess what? I can hand them back and go away and have a life. I know most people get worried about when they're old. Who's going to take care of me? And I say, you can't live like this. I can't live with, oh, I got to make sure to do this. You live for yourself. That's how I go. I live for myself.
Yeah, that's selfish. You shouldn't live
Thank
like
you.
that.
Exactly. You see all the stuff I have at my house? You know how much more stuff you'd have?
What do you mean?
If you weren't supplying for a kid. My God, the things you'd be doing.
Yeah, but ultimately, like, I, for the most part, well, up until a certain point, it brought me nothing but enjoyment. It's been a lot tougher, obviously, the last few years. But again, that's something that we'll talk about as we move forward with the show, and why that sign shouldn't have ever been picked up. We're going to breeze through this letter. It's a lot of calling me names.
That is odd. That is very odd that a lawyer letter called you names.
Yeah, it did, right? So It says, to summarize all of this, I mean, I've missed a lot here. To summarize, all of the statements and images discussed above are false and defamatory and concerning Mr. Brooks, and expose you to very serious liability. How? What did he lose? And what did he lose from this? Mm-hmm. And not that I did any of it, apart from the tweet, but what did he lose? Further, your publication or dissemination of unauthorized, despicable image of the fabricated T-shirt discussed above violate numerous other rights of Mr. Brooks and give rise to an array of additional legal claims for damages and other relief. Simply put, your conduct is clearly unlawful as well as despicable, telling me what I am. And your behavior exposes you to substantial liability for compensatory and punitive damages, as well as other remedies. Moreover, if Mr. Brooks chooses to take legal action against you, your own history of bigotry and homophobic statements would provide indisputable and compelling evidence that your publication and dissemination of false, libelous, and hateful statements and images concerning Mr. Brooks were malicious and knowingly dishonest. Again, knowingly dishonest, no, because I believe all of this. I genuinely believe that you should not pick up the sign. And let me actually talk about that a little bit more, because I'm not going to do the letter anymore because it's not worth talking about. Ultimately, the guy is trying to sue me, and he's also wanting me to take everything down. He's blaming me for things I didn't do, and he wants me to apologize, which we'll get to at the end. The trans thing, the problem with it is exactly what he did. That's the problem. He highlighted the problem by doing exactly what he did, and he's the last person I wanted to see do it, because God knows I loved, with the D on the end, ED on the end, loved CM Punk until that very second. And this is why I'm sick to death of this nonsense.
But let me say, the same reasons you loved him is now why you don't. Because he was outspoken, said whatever he wanted with not caring about what anyone else thought about him, and we love that. Because that's like us, because we say whatever we want, and we could give a whatever about anything else, what people think about it. And that's what drew us mostly. Now he's saying what he thinks, but do you not think that he really supports that?
Completely different thing altogether. So prior to that, he was very, very outspoken, let's say, but it was always it was always sort of in line with wrestling. It wasn't politics. He would outline what was wrong with a product. He would speak for us. He would go out and cut great promos. He's just a great talker. He's somebody who, and I'm not saying this because I don't want to get sued again, but he's the kind of person that you think, when you look at these cult leaders and you think, Jesus Christ, who the hell convinced all of these people to do this?
To drink the Kool-Aid, right?
Who convinced people that killing 8 million Jews was a good idea? Like, who? But Hitler was a great talker, and I'm not comparing like Punk to Hitler before I get sued again. But ultimately, like, he is so good. He and even better than Roman. Roman is the best thing going today. But in terms of taking an audience and putting them in your hand and controlling that audience and generating the reactions that you want them to get, he's still the best. He has a cult leader quality when he speaks, and this is what he had before, and he still has it now. And the problem is that I think, honestly, there's some sort of minor confidence crisis here, where he's uncomfortable with being who he was before, and knowing that this audience and this current incarnation of social media is beyond toxic. Since COVID, social media has become an absolutely horrendous place to navigate. Everybody's a critic. Everybody knows better than you. Nobody likes anything. And I think that this is a sensitive guy, obviously, with this lawsuit, who's sensitive to criticism. And he, I believe, is trying to pander to a portion of the fan base who may or may not prefer certain wrestlers to him, like MJF, like the Elite. A lot of people in this company have fans. I mean, even Orange Cassidy sells a lot of T-shirts. That's ridiculous. The guy's a loser. He shouldn't be on television, right? So that's probably made him very uncomfortable coming into a very different wrestling climate that he was in before. So perhaps he's overdoing things with the whole no uterus, no opinion thing, where he wore the T-shirt. Dude, you're talking about it yourself. You don't, and you're talking about this subject now. You said no uterus, no opinion. No kid, no opinion. Why don't you shut the fuck up? Like, you're talking about trans kids. You're talking about no uterus, no opinion. Hey, I'm telling you, no kid, no opinion. I'm saying what you said. So who's the hypocrite now? Tell me when I'm telling lies. Right?
It does. It
It's,
does
it's
make
very
sense when it comes
different,
to
right?
that because, do you agree with the term of if you don't have something, you can't talk about something, or if you aren't something, you can't talk about something? Or are you just putting that to him with what his shirt was saying that should apply to him then?
I think every situation has its different reasons and merits. But I think in this particular situation, if you're not a dad, and I don't know or how many children he's around, but we're going to definitely talk about that later
Mhm.
in terms of why I don't think that he should have held up this sign and why I don't think he has a clue about children. But ultimately, in this particular situation, I don't think anybody having children should be making its opinion. It's a very gray area. You open yourself up to the type of criticism that he get. There are a lot of tweets out there saying groomer Phil, pedo punk, child molester punk. All that stuff was already out there before I said it. And that's the link that people make. If you are a man who doesn't have any children and essentially doesn't have a dog in this fight, it's nothing to do with you, and you're going out there and saying, oh, these kids should be allowed to mutilate themselves and do these things to themselves, then it's very, very strange. Why do you want kids who are not capable yet of making basic decisions, making big ones? What's that about? So we're going to talk more about that later because I do have that in my notes as something that I want to address. But let's talk about the trans issue because actually, let's do something else first. Let's talk about the fact that let's finish up. Let's draw a line under this, and let's hear your take on why you think he's doing it. Because I find it very confusing that why CM Punk is now trying to be this super humanitarian. Why is he trying to be this guy who stands up for all causes? Where did the political side come from? I've already given my take, where I think there is a level of discomfort with this audience. I think that he realizes that we have a very woke liberal audience, which is the type of people that watch AEW. I think you're sitting in there when you go to Chicago, you're sitting in there with 95% of people who hate Donald Trump and will vote for Joe Biden. I truly believe that when you're talking about AEW. So that is what I think the issue is. And if you want to take a dig at him, there's no historical timeline. There's no historical evidence that tells you that Punk is a great bloke who stands up for great causes and then who supports these causes. In fact, there's video evidence to the contrary that tells you the opposite. So I'm going to give you a chance to say your bit. But first of all, I want you to watch these two videos first, and then I want you to say your bit.
You have a vagina! You have a vagina! Nice faux hawk, you homo!
The other unofficial member of the Gold Bond Mafia, of course, if you asked any of us, she was not a member, but to her, this is her world. I couldn't even tell you her real fucking name. She is the Bikini Girl.
Bikini Girl.
That is strictly what we called her.
And when we first saw her, I'll be honest, me and Chucky Smooth were like, wow, this chick's totally hot, And, we'll tell the story how we eventually went, we spent years with her, and she, at the end, she was the ugliest, most disgusting girl of all time.
I hated her.
Everything that was about her was disgusting. But now, the fact that this proved the difference between some of the young guys growing up and some of the guys, we understood the work of it, how it's a work, how it's a business. And we got this girl every single week with her family van, to drive us 300 miles every week and not putting 1 mile on our car, and us knowing that, trying to not pay for gas as much as we could. And she wanted to train, maybe we got her in the ring once and, made sure to hurt her so she'd be out another 2 months, but she'd still be with us because she was dedicated. And
the point is, and this is going to sound real degrading, but most women in the business are rats. And that's a hard fact of life that you eventually realize. And it was like she got in the business, and at the time she was like, oh, I want to be a wrestler and I want to train. I never saw her get in the ring. Right. It just never happened. And when we did get in the ring, all it took was a good forearm shot, and then that was it. Yeah. She was done. So we always kind of kept her in check, but she would be bikini girl. She would wear bikini and walk around the ring when the show started and take people's ring jackets and,
We'd
sunglasses.
make sure that there was a spot for her. Or
Yeah.
not a spot, but just whatever. So she could drive us and no one would be putting miles on our cars.
No miles on our cars, no
Right.
gas out of our pocket, you know what I'm saying? Because it was like, we weren't getting paid more than, sometimes 30, 40,
Right.
50 bucks from Ian and stuff like that. And we certainly weren't getting trans.
Right.
So it was always just like me, Chucky, Cabana, Prazak, maybe occasionally somebody else. But we'd always fill up that bikini van, and drive it down. And how many tickets would she get? Like, none of us would ever drive, can one of you guys drive? No, I'm really tired. I just got off of work. That was the thing where maybe somebody, a bunch of other young guys would probably just try to gangbang her, and like that's the last you'd see of her. Like we tried to get blood from that stone, and we squeezed her for like everything she was worth, And
She'd always have like snacks for us too.
Because she was one of these girls who her aspiration in life was to have a kid. She wanted to be a mom, so she thought she was like kind of the den mother, and we let her fucking believe that.
Yeah, it was
evil, blah blah blah, and we would just randomly try to get her booked on shows whenever we could, just so we wouldn't have to drive.
So after we have seen the old shoot interview from ROH back in the day, now he does say reprehensible things now about the girl who drove them. Everybody heard it. So my thought on that right away is, it was horrible shit that he said, right?
Mhm.
And also at the same time, I don't know that we haven't been as horrible in our past to women and degraded or whatever, right? This is, I mean, we're not angels when it comes to that. And also, if you
I've never used a woman for money. I've never left a woman short. If I've always, even from a younger age, I've always made the effort to pay for everything. I've never profited from I've never profited from any relationship with a woman. That's not how I'm brought up, and that video disgusts me, to be honest. So
I'm saying, okay, well, the video is bad, right? So if you think also about it, you go, how long ago was this? Do people change? Do people get better? Do people grow when it comes to that? Because I would bet if he had to reply to that video, he would say, it was a pretty shitty thing to do, and I was a bit of an asshole, and I wouldn't do that now. He's an older man. He was pretty young then, right? So I think about that kind of stuff where you go, I can't hold somebody, accountable for something they did ages ago. It's odd when you do that kind of stuff, right? So you go, it's not the same person. Now,
tell it to Bill Cosby.
well, treating somebody badly and date raping them, a little different. However, when we talked about this before, and I was surprised by what you said, and I think you were probably surprised by what I said, because we're completely opposite take on it. Where we talked about him, like why he held up the sign and all that kind of stuff, and your opinion is it was to cater more to that audience, right, and gain favor kind of a little bit with them.
And to add to that, you say you're going down the angle of, oh, maybe he's a different person, maybe he's changed since then. The evidence is to the contrary. You're looking at this situation with the Bucks and Kenny Omega. You're looking at this fallout with Colt Cabana. He's the one that cut that promo in the press conference. He then did the podcast after he left the WWE. I took to numerous wrestlers who don't like CM Punk. So we're not seeing that different person. We're only hearing that different person pandering to people on television with these political gestures. The actual man, for all evidence, is to the contrary, that he's not changed. So I'm trying to understand why you think he has, or if that's what you're going to say.
Well, I don't think he used to be like, oh, I'm against the gays or something, and now I'm pandering. Where you've seen the clip of him calling somebody a homo in the crowd or something, and that to me, I'm not. Yeah, I've done similar. I've done some similar things, and that has nothing to do with anything. But but
it's 2023. It's 2023. And why should we've been the podcast who always turn around and go, yeah, that's bullshit. Who cares?
Yeah.
But look, let's bring ourselves into 2023 where everybody's a moron, and you know that if you said that in the past, that goes next. That goes next to you holding a sign.
Sure.
Right. Fair is fair. That's what they would do. That's what they would do to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they would do to me. They're trying to bring up all my comments and everything that I've said in this very letter, your history of doing this, that, and other. Well, good. Here you go. True. Here you go, Phil. Here's your history, man.
That's true. That's true. That's very fair. That's very fair. If they're saying, oh, your history said this, well, here your history said this.
Right.
I believe he is all for what he says. I don't think it is a stunt to get people to like him better. I don't think he's really like, yeah, I'm totally, screw these weirdos and these people, but I'm going to cater a little bit. I think he's always been his own person. And like we have always said, like, doesn't give a shit if he says something and somebody doesn't like it or not. And I think in his older age, with not having to be a certain character in wrestling anymore, you know how like when they've been there for a long time and they're made, they act a little bit different because they have already made it. They are already in, and now they can kind of do what they want. Like even to a small point of Foley was wearing sweatpants and tennis shoes, where it was like, you couldn't have done this when you came in. You have now clout. You're established. You could do what you want. So like I said in the beginning, I think it was just a nicety where he's like, yeah, support the kids that have these issues. And I don't think he looks into it as, well, the T part, I disagree. Because I'm on the same page of the T part where it comes to, you got to at least be 18 before we start to hormone you and chop it off and whatever you want. Even maybe 21, because we'll get into how kids don't know what they want at all. And I would be shocked. I would be really shocked if Punk came out and said, I think if a kid is adamant at 8 years old that he's another sex, that you should either drill a hole or cut it off. I can't imagine there is more than 1% in the world that even believe that you should do that to any kids. I was trying to look up stats on, ages that this kind of stuff, like where they have given them hormones, and I know there's like a puberty blocker and all this kind of stuff, but if you want to talk about how kids change their minds, we should go into that.
Well, we will, but the fact is that, look, the bigger issue is the fact that he held up the sign in the first place, because it's become something that is now at this point intolerable, not just for me, but a lot of people. And I did not want to see him do that. And I certainly didn't want to see him double down on it with a promo that said, I felt uncomfortable with a body. I respect you. I don't know what you guys are going through of being uncomfortable in your body. Yeah, they're going through a mental problem and it needs to be fixed, because children shouldn't be thinking that way, in my opinion. And it certainly shouldn't be elevated by the media. And the thing is that this is a new problem. And it's unfortunate for the L's, the G's, and the B's, because L, G, and B is a sexual preference, right? Even if you get it wrong, even if you turn around at a young age, at 14, 15 years old, and you kiss a boy or you blow a boy or whatever, it might psychologically damage you if you turn up straight, and you might think, oh shit, like what did I do? I put that in my mouth or whatever. But it's not going to kill you, right? It's not going to be a medical
ruin your world. Yeah,
it's not going to. It's a sexual preference. All of them are, and they all three of those first three letters. How did these letters get grouped together with a massive transformative surgery and a massive decision like transgenderism? Like it's not the same thing. And the media are absolutely ridiculous at this point. And here's the biggest problem. And I'll tell you this for a fact. And you know this. This was not on our show up until around about 2021, correct?
Yeah, right? I don't remember ever going through any stuff.
Who gave a shit, right? Nobody cared. If you want to do that, look, am I going to think it's weird if I see somebody my size coming down the road with long hair, high heels? I
remember seeing a couple of that in the city here and there. It was so obvious, a guy in a dress,
But who cares? It's just
it's not my problem.
It's just a weirdo, right? It's not going to be on. Who cares? Who cares? No one gives a shit. No one cared. No one cared about anything until you started to shove it down our throat. Now, let me use Cav here as an example, right? Just wave for us, Cav.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, that's Cav, right? Cav's not offensive in any way. Some of you who've been listening to the show for a while might want to go out for a drink with Cav. I can tell you it's boring. He goes to bed about 8 o'clock at night, gets up at 6 in the
9:30.
morning.
I got to get up early.
No drink, no drink.
I met you and I went to bed at 10. New Orleans.
Yep, no drink, no drugs, nothing. He's CM Punk. It's CM Punk's biggest disciple sitting right there. So yeah, but there's nothing offensive about Cav, right? So he's sitting there, he's not bothering you. You'll see him like once a week. That's fine, right? Now let's imagine that you see Cav every time you switch on the TV. Hi, I'm Cav. Hi, I'm Cav. Hi, I'm Cav. Hi, I'm Cav. Every time, and you start to get sick of him because suddenly the guy you didn't care about seeing all the time, and he's just there, and it's just Cav, a guy that didn't bother you. Some of you might want to go out for a drink with him, hang out with him, whatever. Now he's getting on your nerves, right? You get that? You go outside, and everywhere you look, and every shop, on every bus, on every window, hi, I'm Cav. Hi, I'm Cav. Hi, I'm Cav. You go to the cinema, watch a film. There's a trailer about Cav. And now you can't get away from him anywhere. So you decide,
fantastic to me.
Holy shit, like, I need to have a drink because this is stressing me out. Who's on the can? Oh my God, it's Cav. Cav's on the can. Cav's on the can. This guy who I didn't mind before, now I see him everywhere. And now he's annoying me because he's on the can. I can't even buy a can without seeing Cav. So you know what I'll go and do? I'll go and watch some sports. Let's go and watch some sports. There can't be any issue at the sports. Sports is completely different. My sports team wouldn't go in this direction. What's that on their armband? What's that they're wearing in their shoelaces? Oh my God, it's a little picture of Cav. It's a little picture of Cav on their wristbands, on their armband. There's tabs in the shoelaces. Cav is everywhere. So you can't get away from Cav everywhere you go. And just when you thought it wouldn't get any worse, Cav is coming to your school to talk to your children because your children are going to be taught that they have to accept Cav. And if your kids don't accept Cav and your kids don't love Cav and you don't accept Cav and love Cav and accept everything that Cav is about and turn a blind eye to the fact that Cav is clearly a man just as a woman, if you ignore all of this stuff, then you are a bigot. Then you are a transphobe. Then you are this horrible person.
Cav-phobic.
You're a Cav-phobic because you didn't like the fact that you just saw this guy over here that you didn't give a shit about that suddenly started appearing everywhere you looked, started appearing on your beer can, started being on the cinema, started to infiltrate your sports, and started to influence your children. That is why I don't want to see CM Punk when I'm trying to watch wrestling lifting up a sign which has Cav's face on it because I'm already sick of Cav because he's everywhere I fucking go. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Cav makes people uncomfortable, I guess. That's what that is. And you know, I get the whole where people go, I'm tired of it being shoved in my face and this and that. I don't even know if, because I'm on that opposite side of you where I'm the super I don't care. Like, because you don't care. I know you don't care until it's shoved into your face and then you notice it.
Oh, come on. I didn't care. I just told you. I've been on there since, like, when did this come up? I didn't care.
No, but now it's like, it's gone into your face more because before it was around, but it wasn't as around.
But also there's that point where you're not a real man and you don't have a child. So it's not affecting you down to that level where your children are taught about it.
I mean,
because I can see CM Punk holding up a sign and disregard it, but the father in me, who knows that Austin will see a sign of CM Punk holding up and who loves CM Punk until this moment, that's not cool.
See, it is maybe different for somebody who has a kid and has to deal with it. And do you have fear that, oh my God, if this ever happened? Because I always think of the people who are either gay or have this with, something in their head is telling them that they're the opposite and all that kind of stuff. I highly say this is something that is born into you. And I don't think anyone would choose. Like when people say, no, you choose to be gay. I think that's insane. And I think you agree with that. Nobody's choosing to be gay or whatever. But
No, but we do have people identifying as a lettuce, and we do have people, and we do have people putting acid in their eyes to identify as blind. Did you see that?
you know, God, it's for those things. Go ahead, because you're not bothering me at all. You could,
Yes, but it only came about when the media narrative started to blow up this trans thing, and people decided that they were going to go down this route. Nobody identified. Nobody was born blind. Nobody was born as a lion. Nobody was born as a cabbage, or a cat.
People are born blind, but
but nobody was born with sight who decided to be blind.
Who wants to be blind? Yeah, that's insane.
Right, it is insane, and I feel that it's insane way back to the point where, I think that just being trans in general is insane. And my bigger concern is that one of the things that maybe even Phil Brooks doesn't know, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. The plus on that, somebody told me in a tweet, actually now has already started to stand for the minor attracted. Did you know this?
Now, I saw that you'd said that the other day or whatever, but at the same time, a lot of things evolve into weird shit. Like woke never used to mean what the hell it means now. And so I think plus is going to be that whole alphabet, because there's the questioning in there, and there's so many weird fucking ones in there that are like, what's this one now? It's gross.
So it says here, someone's tweeted CM Punk and said, hope you are aware that plus stands for MAPS. So Punk supports pedophiles, minor attracted people. Plus stands for MAPS. That's what
I think, and like we have said, the
poor, and I don't think he knew. And I don't think he knew.
There's no way. And I think the poor LGB community is like, why you got to add this kind of stuff? We already we're finally getting somewhere in this world with acceptance, and all these other things have to be attached to us that are tearing us down, because people finally don't have an issue mostly with the gay people. And now other things are getting added where it's maps on there. If this is now a new thing, that's because this used to be NAMBLA back in the day is what that was. And so, and I can't imagine anybody is for men loving boys or whatever the hell all that goes on,
So as we circle back around to the letter has requested that I do the following things as we finish up here, as we're near the end anyway.
Yeah.
You must immediately and permanently remove all images and statements referenced above, including but not limited to all images of the hateful t-shirt described above from all social media accounts, websites, and other media that you directly or indirectly own or control, including limited to all websites and social media accounts or associated with lockbetting.com and the Dirty Sheets, as well as any other social media accounts, blogs, chat rooms, and form of media. Now, I did delete the tweets relating to the t-shirt. I did this because I only want to be responsible for what I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
I didn't create that. I didn't sell the t-shirt. So this is not a case of me not standing my ground. This is a case of me saying, yeah, fair enough. Go take your shit up with the people that did it.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any. I'm not taking the hit for other people for sure. But I have not removed my original tweet because that's why I was able to read it. You must take all necessary steps to cause any persons in media who published, disseminated, republished, or reposted or false defamatory statements and images concerning Mr. Brooks to delete and take down those false statements and images from social media accounts, websites, and other media.
So you have to go to everybody who retweeted that and tell them to remove and who, oh my God.
Yeah. So obviously, again, not doing that. You must immediately post prominent public retractions and apologies on all websites, social media accounts, and other media where any of your defamatory statements concerning Mr. Brooks were posted, published, or republished to this date. Your retraction and apology must be unequivocal, and it must state without reservation or qualification that your statements concerning Mr. Brooks were entirely false, including the absurd suggestion that he's a pedophile. Didn't suggest it, not in one place. Did I say that? Is that anywhere?
Not that I see. I'm not sitting on your account, but yeah.
Yep. You deeply regret having published each of the statements and images, and you apologize to Mr. Brooks for having made and published the statements in question. You must confirm in writing your completion of each of the foregoing steps within a 24 hours. Timelines here.
Yeah, when did you get this letter?
I saw it like Thursday, I think.
Yeah, more than
if
24 hours.
That was after the 24 hours, so I couldn't have done this
Oh.
anyway. Not that I would have. If you fail to take all of the foregoing steps promptly and provide us with written confirmation that you have done so, our client is prepared to take whatever steps they deem necessary to protect his legal and unequivocal rights. Now, here's the interesting part, and the main reason why none of this happened. Our investigation is continuing. All of our clients' rights, claims, remedies, and positions are reserved. This letter is not intended, nor should be construed as a complete statement of all facts, all issues, and may be relevant to the matters addressed herein or any other matters. Sincerely, his solicitor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it isn't
lawyer for the people in America.
It isn't all the facts, because a lot of stuff in this letter is completely wrong, and for that exact reason, I'm going to make a statement. And I'm going to make you an alternative offer. Here's the only thing that you are going to get from me. So here we go. I was so appalled by that video that one of our fans sent me that I am willing to financially compensate the woman that CM Punk and Colt Cabana treated like a piece of shit all that time. They actually profited from a woman and treated her like that, misled her, made her think that she was going to be in the wrestling industry. God knows what else happened. This is what they were willing to publicly disclose. So I think a fair amount was if I was to pay $5,000 to the woman, which I'm willing to pay in $5,000 installments after
$1,000 installments.
What did I say?
In $5,000 installments, unless you're doing one installment, you're done.
No. No.
I'm here to help you.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to promise.
In 5 installments of $1,000, you will pay.
All right, nobody's going to take this offer, but let's just.
I was going to say when they hear the reason or why you will pay it, go ahead. Yeah,
so I'm offering. This is a 2-part offer. It's $5,000 to the woman, because you shouldn't. If you sue me and get anything from it, this money should be going to charity. Probably going to send it to the LGBT plus kids or whatever. But no, send it to the girl,
bikini girl.
The bikini girl who you took money from. But I will only send that money on the condition that when Phil Brooks comes to England, that he and whoever he wants to bring with him, he can bring Ace Steel, he can bring his wife, he can bring FTR. He can bring a bodyguard. He can bring Tony Khan. You can bring whoever you want. I'm paying. I'm inviting you out to dinner with me, 3-course meal with me and my son, Austin, who is a 12-year-old. And that for you, Phil, will be the biggest education that you can possibly get as to why you shouldn't hold up your stupid sign. You are free to come to this dinner and ask my son any questions that you want to ask, so you can educate yourself and see how stupid your sign actually was. This is a kid who over the years has gone to watch. I support Manchester United. He wanted to support Tottenham. He originally started supporting Tottenham, who is our local team. Manchester United signed Ronaldo. We took him to see Ronaldo. He became a Manchester United supporter. He changed his sports team on the basis of us signing a bigger player. That is how kids work. He then wanted to be a footballer. He then wanted to change his football team because he fell out with some of the players. He then said the new team was crap. He moved to another team. Now he doesn't want to waste time playing for a football team altogether and only wants to play casually at a practice place where he plays on Monday. Now, he's a decent player who just doesn't want to play for a team anymore. That is how much he's changed. In his bedroom, we have fucking decorated this thing 4 times since we've been here, from being fully WWE to paying £800 to paint Cobra Kai murals on the back to painting over one of the murals because he now likes South Park. This is how kids change. He's gone from WWE fanatic to Cobra Kai to Cobra Kai's finishing soon. I'm going to move over to South Park, which he watches constantly on his phone. We've now left the room with one rule WWE, one rule Cobra Kai, and one rule South Park because I'm sick of doing it, because that is how children work. This is a kid who has gone from wanting to be a lawyer to wanting to be a tennis player and waking up at 7 a.m. to now wanting to be an actor and wanting me to pay £4,000 per term, which is every 12 weeks, for him to go to a drama school where he can fully concentrate on being an actor. That is his plan at the moment. We will see if that's still his plan by the time it comes around. I won't hold my breath, because that's how kids work. This is a kid who wanted to cut his hair because people took the mickey out of him. Cut it, hated it.
Mean? The Mickey.
Oh, mocked him for long hair.
Okay.
He cut his hair, then he hated his ears and grew it back. then he wanted to change the color of it. Then he wanted to change it back. He's now blonde. And this is not, Tav, these are not lies, right?
No, I've seen them.
We've got the pictures here. Let's bring them up in case anybody's sitting here going, "Oh, this is nonsensical" or whatever. No, this is kids. We can see him here with let's use this one. Dolph Lundgren.
Okay.
You see with his
blonde hair,
with his blonde hair. And we'll go back down and we'll use. Oh, actually, there's a better picture. It's just him by himself.
Okay.
With the blonde hair, which he begged and begged and begged and begged for. And if we go into these other pictures a little bit further back, not even that far back, you will see that he clearly has dark hair. Let's use Roman Reigns. Okay. He has gone from that to wanting to shave the side of his head like Nakamura to now wanting a perm. He wanted to perm his hair for 3 weeks.
Transitioning. Don't let him perm.
And now he doesn't want to perm his hair because a kid called Harley permed his hair and it looks shit. And now he just wants a trim so it doesn't look as long, because some people say, someone said the other day that he looked beautiful or something like that. I think it was Tom Cruise.
I was going to say Tom Cruise is the one.
Tom Cruise. I didn't want to mention that, but it was Tom Cruise who said.
Someone must have said. I'm like, yeah, it was Tom.
Thanks for that.
It's on video. I heard it. Go ahead.
Right. The point is that this is children. This is children. He comes home every day. I don't want to go to tennis, Dad. I'm too tired. I don't want to go to football tonight. I don't want to go to karate. What he wants to do is play PlayStation, because that's what they want to do. What he wants to do is sit in his room, PlayStation, and eat snacks. He's on the court for 10 minutes. He's fine being there. Are we going to go home? No, let's go in the swimming pool. Let's prolong this outdoor activity even more. And you have to know how to navigate that. You have to know how to take that stance as a parent and say, no, you're not missing this. You're not wasting time on the PlayStation. You're not eating sweets. We're going to play sports. You're going to do it. And afterwards, you're going to eat some chicken, because that's parenting and that's a child. And if you don't let them, and if you just let them run wild, you end up with Lord of the Flies. If you haven't read it, Phil, go and read the book Lord of the Flies. If you're not going to
tries
Lord of the Flies, if you haven't read the Lord of the Flies, then you're free to take me up on this offer where that girl you treated horribly, I'll pay the bill, I'll pay the $5,000, and you get to sit here, have this dinner, have this lunch with Austin. Ask him, hey, what did you want to be when you were 8? What did you want to be when you were 9? Who was your favorite wrestler? Who was your favorite soccer player? What did you like to do? What did you like to do now? What did you like to eat? And this is a kid who had tuna baguettes for 5 days, was eating it slowly the other day, and said, I don't like tuna anymore. Because this is kids. Like, you don't understand. You have no right to hold up the stupid sign and to speak for them unless you spend just even 3 or 4 days with a kid. You'll know how difficult they are and how much they change their mind. When he comes to dinner, he won't even know what he wants to eat. It'll be all this, all that, all this. I want this, I want that. Oh, I might have this, I might have that. And by the time somebody comes to order, I guarantee you he'll be sitting there looking at that menu for 20 minutes, and the idiot still won't know what he wants to eat because he's a kid. Because he's a kid, and that's what they do. So this is the only thing I'm offering. I have deleted things that I'm not responsible for. I have kept things up that are my opinions. And because they are my opinions, They were not done to defame you. They were not done to discriminate. They were not done to insult. So as far as your apology goes and your solicitor and AEW and everybody else, all of you can collectively go fuck yourselves. I am not saying sorry to you or anybody, and I stand by everything that I said on the tweet and on this show. That's it. We're done.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. You have heard Billy's side of the lawsuit that was sent to him, or possible lawsuit, if you want to say that, sent to him by CM Punk's attorneys.
Possible, I think, given that we've established that 90% of it's incorrect. I think, yeah.
So with that, hope you
unless there's a lawsuit for this. Unless there's a lawsuit for this show,
I don't know how there would be.
They take you down as well.
I've been on the other side the whole time. What are you talking about? I'm hell. When I move to Chicago, me and Punk will hang out. But I think he's moved to California, so we're gonna cross each other, pass by.
You say the other side, but just to clarify that, that was obviously a joke. But you say the other side, but the overriding thing is that when we're talking about this particular subject, like you're more tolerant to me about the fact that you're not that bothered by it. But the fact is that you really don't think that anybody before the age of 18 is actually capable or should be allowed to make this decision. Right?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I've said in us talking in the past about shit. When I was younger, I wanted a Superman tattoo, and I thank God I didn't. So
what about the men? What about the men winning the women's sports things?
Oh yes, I this has been one I have firmly been on, where I think if girls change to guys, guys change to girls, girls can go into the men's sports, but guys cannot go into the girls' sports because there's the clear advantage. There's not an advantage for being born female going into the male sport. So knock yourself out. If you win against men, then you're the greatest that's ever lived in that sport. And you could take them down all day. But a guy, born a guy going into the female sport, you're going to, for the most part.
Can you imagine you look like LeBron James' kid and you're just a little bit short of being in the NBA and you decide, you know what? I'm not going to be a dominant player here. So I'm going to identify as a woman. I'm going to play in the WNBA and I'm going to score 100 points a game. How stupid is that?
I mean, and there's the congressman or whatever he was. I don't even know what he was, where this is all over the internet of Twitter and, the goofy thing about where they go. So if Tyson decided and he said, I identify as a woman, is that okay?
I've seen the video.
Yeah. And he does not want to because he knows he's screwed if he says no. So he sticks to his guns and he goes, yes, that's okay. And then you see a movie that happened or whatever, where it's a woman getting in the ring. And I don't think it was Amy Schumer, maybe. And she's like, I finally got a fight. And Tyson turns around dressed like a woman.
It's not Amy Schumer. It's the woman. It's the girl from Scream.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I remember her name.
Yeah. And so it's like, come on. I mean, there are certain things. It's like, give me a break. You're going to destroy everybody in that sport. So if you're born a certain sex, you can't go down to the other sport to be able to do that. It's only the women can go into the guys, though. I'm completely fine with that because they're already at a disadvantage. You can't come over with the advantage. Otherwise, it's a joke.
And so, just in tribute, to Jerry Springer, like a final thought.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just
be good to each other.
It's just like for Phil Brooks with this lawsuit and just in general, the bitterness and the moodiness and the difficultness. And look, just you can potentially have one of the best careers and legacies ever. Like you're getting injured fairly frequently now. So there is no need to go out there and wrestle all of the time. If you don't do that, we can see you do this easily for another 3 or 4 more years if you just reduce the schedule and primarily focus on that side of things, the storytelling, the promos, giving us the things that we want to see. We want to see you in there with Kenny Omega. That match wants to happen. Everybody wants to see Punk.
Maybe it's not his fault, though. Maybe
it's not. But maybe it's not. But maybe it is. Maybe it's time to just squash this shit. Maybe it's time to finish on the biggest high as possible. Maybe if it's not working out there, you need to show the WWE that you're not doing this kind of stupid shit where you're sending podcast lawsuits for something that they didn't even do for an opinionated tweet. And maybe the WWE will have you back, because that's where we all want to see you. We want to see you. We want to see WrestleMania in a stadium in Chicago. We want to see it in Bears Stadium. And we want to see you coming out and actually wrestling in the main event. That's what we want to see. That's what we want for you. We don't want this. Nobody does.
You know what we didn't mention? And I'm going to leave it a cliffhanger for next week's show.
Right.
That you wrote CM Punk a letter before he went to AEW, right before he went to AEW when the rumors were around. Remember that?
I don't remember that. But
you don't remember that?
I do. It's ringing a bell now.
Oh, my God. We're going to talk about that. I couldn't believe he wrote a giant letter to Punk, and he read the whole thing to me before he sent it. We're going to talk about that, about hurting your legacy. Please don't go to AEW. The amount of the pop.
Do you have the letter?
I might. I
don't email you often. You probably just check my name and.
Yeah, I don't know if it was an email or if you read it to me or you sent it to me, but you sent it to him. So then you should be able to. You sent it to him by email. Check your out email and type in his name. You'll have it.
I will do now.
So you know what? And it might be sent to me too. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be out of here. Hope you enjoyed the show and we gave you some clarification on possible lawsuits. So stay tuned. I'm sure all the other shows are going to enjoy going over this and talking about this and giving points and everything like that. And I do the Bobby Heenan role when like in Texas. And remember, Texas, I love you. So nobody attacks me. You know, one of those. All right. I'm Cav. Find all my nonsense at Lingus Mafia. Look for Billy at LockBettingCom on Twitter. Is there anywhere else you want to say, Billy, or is that good enough?
I don't want to get all
yes,
my places sued. So yeah, we'll leave
Yeah,
them.
Twitter is the way to go. For Billy, I'm Cav. We'll see you next time.